initial basic feasible solution. Three methods: northwest corner rule, least cost method, Vogels approximation method. Whereas to find out the optimal solution, that is the best solution among all these feasibility, to find out that we are having the two methods, stepping stone method and modified distribution method, which is shortly called as Modi method. To solve it, first of all, we must know how the question is. It means the total, I told, we discussed also as the number of sources from where we want to transport the goods to the number of destinations. So sources is normally a demand, number of destination supply. So that demand and supply will be keeping in the matrix format. That is in the form of rows and the columns. So everything will be in the form of a matrix. So questions will be framed in the form of a matrix. So it will be given to you in the form of matrix and finding out, or else in the sentence wise, if they gave you, we need to convert it into a matrix format. Then only we can solve it by these methods. Okay. So to solve with first northwest corner rule, NWCR, what is there is northwest corner rule is a method adopted to compute the initial feasible solution of the transportation problem. The name northwest corner is given to this method because the basic variables are selected from the extreme left corner. Northwest, you can see normally if you go with the right side is the east. If you think of it, our right will be the east, left will be the west, top will be the north, and bottom will be the south. Northwest, so corner point of northwest will be selected first to find out the solution, and it is most systematic and easiest method for obtaining the initial feasible basic solution. Initial basic feasible solution must be, yeah. The northwest corner to find out only the feasible solution, not the optimal solution. Do remember that point. Whatever we are getting an answer, that is a feasible answer. By satisfying all the conditions, getting the profit is a feasibility. Among all the feasibility, the best solution will be small changes. Means we discussed in the graphical method, the feasible area will be having 3 or 4 or 5 feasible points that will be substituted in the objective function. We are finding out the maximum value or minimum value based on our objective. If we are getting the best one, means that is based on the objective function. Similarly, here also the optimal solution is nothing but the best solution among all the feasibilities. So in the northwest corner rule, to find out it, extreme left corner will be considered. Left top left corner. So steps in the northwest corner method is: step 1, select the upper left, that is northwest cell of the transportation matrix. That is the first cell we can say in the matrix, and allocate a minimum of supply and the demand. Means we are finding out the feasible solution which must be less cost. That is why we'll be finding out the least values only. So minimum of A1 or B1, that is demand or supply, whatever mentioned. Among those two things, whichever is minimum, that is allocated value in that cell. We need to allocate those minimum supply or the demand. That is the first step. Step 2, what we need to see is if A1 is less than B1, then allocation made is equivalent to the supply available at the first source, that is A1 in the first row. Then move vertically down to the cell 2-1. If A1 is more than B1, then allocation made is equal to demand of the first destination, that is B1 in the first column. Then move horizontally to the cell. If A1 is equals to B1, then allocate the value A1 or B1 and then move to the cell 2-2. 2-2 means the next row and column will be exempted, and the next row and column, that is northwest corner only, to be allocated first. So step 3, continue the process until an allocation is made in the southeast corner cell of the transportation table. So till the southeast column is bottom right side bottom cell, till all the cells have been allocated or cancelled, till that we need to do, and we need to close it up to that cell, that is southeast corner cell. So after allocating all the values based on the demand and supply, we will find out how much is the total cost incurred to transport. So here is the question. Actually, in the table, you can see 3 sources A, B, C with the production capacity of 50, 40, 60 units of product respectively is given. Every day, the demand of 3 retailers D, E, F is to be furnished with at least 20 units, 95 units, 35 units of the product respectively. So the transportation costs are also given in the matrix. Means to transport from A to D, you can see in the row wise A to D, if you want to transport, the cost is 5. A to E is 8. A to F is 4, where the supply of the product A or sources of A to supply the demand according to the demand is 50. So this 50 units is source of A, 40 units of source of B, and 60 units for source of C. That is the totals of ABC, and totals of D are given in the bottom as in the form of a demand, that's 20, 95, and 35. And this totals whatever given to us. I repeat once again, the total of supply and the demand must be equal or not. First, we need to check. That's why he has given clearly as 150/150. That means what? The demand is also 150 and the supply total is also 150. If these two totals are equal, we can go further for any of the methods. If this total is not equal, right? So the total of 150/150, whatever mentioned here, that total must be equal. If that is not equal, we have to make it equal by adding up a row or a column. That is one thing. So step 1, what I told, check whether the total demand is equal to total supply. In case the demand is more than supply, then dummy origin is added to the table. The cost associated with the dummy origin will be 0. And step 2, select the northwest or extreme left corner of the matrix. Assign as many units as possible to AD. You can see the northwest corner means this cell, right? Northwest corner will be this cell, AD.
Yes, yes.
So this cell we need to allocate means we need to check the total of A is less or D total is less. So if you see the row total is 50, that is supply is 50 and the demand is 20. So we can go with the minimum value. So that is 20 units or less. So this 20 units is to be allocated to this cell. That means A to D, we need to supply 20 units with a cost of 5. Okay, so you can see the solution in this second step. Step 2, northwest or extreme left corner of the matrix, assign as many units to cell AD with the supply and demand constant, such as 20 units are assigned to the first cell that satisfies the demand of destination D. While the supply is in surplus, supply will be how many? 50 was there. So out of 50, 20 units have been allocated already. So now they assign 30 units to the cell E because the supply out of 50, 20 units have been supplied. That means remaining 30 units will be the surplus units. Now we need to go with the next cell. This, whenever the total of the demand or supply is allocated, that is total 20 units is allocated to the cell, this total becomes 0, right? Demand of D column becomes 0. So there is no further allocation to this column. Do remember that point. This total column will be cancelled after allocating the 20 units to first cell. Other cells will be cancelled because total demand is allocated. We need to go with the next cells. The next cells are these cells, D and F with ABC. So among this, again, we need to go with the A to E cell. A to E cell, if you see, the total supply becomes 30 because already 20 units have been allocated. Here, E column, the total is 95. Among these two totals, row and the column total, the least is 30. So 30 is to be allocated to this cell. So that is what he has mentioned. Now assign 30 units to the cell AE. Since 30 units are available with the source A, the supply gets fully saturated. So when supply becomes 0, this becomes 0 means there is no further allocation to this row. A total has been allocated. So leftover cells will be here 30, here 20 allocated. So this becomes 0 and this becomes 0. Leftover will be these 4 cells. D, C with the E, F, right? Among these 4 cells, the northwest corner cell is this one only. The left top corner will become this one. Again, if you see this cell, if you want to allocate, the total of supply is 40 and total of demand out of 95, 30 is already allocated. So if you subtract the 30 from 95, the leftover units will be 65 units, right? So 65 column wise, row wise 40. So 40 will be the least. Again, we need to allocate 40 units to this cell. This becomes 0 and out of 65, 40 allocated means leftover will be 25. Again, from leftover cells will be only these 2 cells, 9 with the cost and 6 with the another cost. So only to these 2 cells we need to allocate means the first to be selected is this one. So with the cost of 9, C and E, where the total of row is 60 and the column wise, if you check after subtracting this 40 allocation out of 65, leftover will be 25. So 25 units will be allocated to this cell. 25 units to be allocated to this cell. So that out of 60, 25 will be exhausted. The leftover will be 35. And that 35 and this 35 is allocated to the cell, last cell, southeast corner cell. As for this cost 6, we can allocate 35 units. So overall, if you see here 20 units, here 30 units, here 40 units, here 25 units, here 35 units. So that is the allocation of number of units. That means those many units to be supplied from one source to another destination. So supply to demand, subject to the cost must be less. So we are supplying all the units with the least cost.
When demand becomes 0, we will remove that entire row.
Yes.
And as well as same supply becomes 0, we will remove the column.
Row wise, yeah.
Okay.
Check the solution here. 20 units of this, 30, 40, 20, 30. So the total 150 units have been allocated. Step 3, if you go with the same, as I told you, 40 units to the E cell, 25 units to CE cell, and lastly 35 units to CF cell. Both the demand and supply of origin and destination get saturated. Now the total cost can be computed. Total cost, how to compute? This cost is multiplied with the number of units. So 5 into 20, 8 into 30, 6 into 40, 9 into 25, 6 into 35. That is what here given. The total initial transportation cost will be 20 into 5, 30 into 8, 40 into 6, 25 into 9, 35 into 6. The total cost is 1015 rupees. So this is one of the feasibility, you can say, that to transport the goods from one source to another destination. So what I mean to say, you are able to understand. If you go further, you can understand it clearly. Okay? That is northwest corner method. It is. And one more point also we can check that the total things will be in the form of a matrix I told, the rows and the columns, row wise and the column wise. How many rows are there here? There will be 3 rows and 3 columns. And cross verification for this, whether it is a feasible solution or not, is m plus n minus 1. That is m rows and columns. The total supply available at the plants exactly matches the total demand of the destination. Hence, there is neither excess supply nor excess demand. Such type of problems where supply and demand are exactly equal are known as balanced transportation problem. Right? Supply from various sources are written in the rows, while a column is an expression for the demand of different warehouses. In general, if the transportation problem has m rows and n columns, then the problem is solvable if there are exactly m plus n minus 1 basic variables. Means what I want to say, the problem is solvable if there are exactly m plus n minus 1 basic variables. Means the solution, whenever you are getting it, how many cells have been occupying it? Those cells are satisfying with this equation m plus n minus 1. We can say that the problem can be solved and we can get the best answer. If you go with the previous question, how many rows? 3 rows and 3 columns. So 3 plus 3 minus 1 means nothing but 5 allocations we should get. So your 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we got 5 allocations. We got 3 rows, 3 columns. So 3 plus 3 minus 1, 5 we got. So that means the problem is having a optimal solution. This is having a solution which is a feasible solution, and it is having a optimal solution also. You can solve further to get the best solution. It may be the best solution what we calculated. So this can be verified once again after calculating and after proving. Any problem? Before going to this, is this clear to you what I explained just now?
What is this m plus n minus 1 variable, sir?
See, row wise, we are expressing the sources, that is supply, column wise demand. So row wise, whatever we get is m number of rows plus n number of columns.
Supplies.
So the problem can be solvable if m plus n minus 1 is satisfied. So So the solution, whatever we got within this means, if we get it, then it is best solution or having a best solution for that question.
Okay, sir.
This can be considered as one more formula to cross-check our solution also.
So in previous problem, we have 3 rows, right? Sir? 3 rows, 3 columns.
Yes. 3
So
rows,
3 plus 3, 6
3
minus
plus 3 minus 1.
5.
The
5
5
is
allocations we should get, and we got a 5 allocations only here. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Allocations of 3 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
yes, sir.
Yes.
That is what I want. Right. Every problem you can check, cross check that.
Okay.
Now, coming back to method can be same, but if it is an unbalanced transportation, when we can say a transportation problem is said to be an unbalanced if supply and demand are not equal, means the total supply, total demand is not equal. There will be 2 situations possible. If supply is less than demand, means the row wise total is less and the column wise total is more. A dummy supply variable is introduced in the equation to make it equal to demand. Right? So similarly, if the demand is less than supply, also a dummy demand variable is introduced in the equation to make it equal to supply. That is the totals we need to check. If totals are not equal, it is unbalanced. Then to make it balanced, we need to add dummy row or dummy column. So and before solving, we must balance the demand and supply. That is what I want to say you. When it is unbalanced, make it as a balance. Right? Is that clear? Maybe if you go with the question, then you can understand it. When supply exceeds demand, the excess supply is assumed to go to inventory. So a column of slack variables is added to the transportation table, which represents dummy destination with the requirement equal to the amount of excess supply and the transportation cost equal to 0. In the matrix, the cost is 0 and the difference is to be considered in that column or row. When demand exceeds supply, the balance is restored by adding a dummy origin. The row represents it is added with an assumed total availability. Total availability equal to the difference between the total demand and supply. And with each cell having a 0 unit cost. Each cell having a 0 unit cost. It must be a 0 unit cost. Say example, there is a question here, demand less than supply is given to you. Suppose that a plywood factory increases its rate of production from 100 to 250 desks. The firm is now able to supply a total of 850 desks each period. But the warehouse requirement remains the same as 700. So supply is 850 where the requirement demand is 700. So the rows in the column total do not balance. So what we need to do, we add a dummy column that will represent a fake warehouse requiring 150 desks. This is somewhat analog to add a slack variable. So we use the northwest corner rule and either Vogel's approximation method or Modi to find the optimal solution. But we need to solve it. Means first we need to convert unbalanced into balanced transportation problem. Right. So This is your question as in the form of a matrix. You can see the three supply origins, sources, 250, 300, 300, the total is 850. But the warehouse requirements is 300, 200, 200, total is 700 only. So the total supply and demand is not equal, right? Is the
Yes, sir.
question
Yes.
clear to you? I told you before going to the method to solve, we need to check whether the question is balanced or unbalanced. So this is unbalanced. So 150 is more, right? Supply is more than the demand. So what to do to make it this 300, 200, 200 plus 150 means one more column has to be added with the dummy warehouse, right? Fake warehouse or dummy warehouse with the difference of this 780. That is what we are doing here. So A, B, C, D is a dummy one, which we are adding with the difference of 850 and 700, 150 added so that both are equal. This is the cost with the zero cost, because even if you transport, the expenditure is zero. There is no means to make it, to solve it, it is necessary. So unbalanced transportation has to be converted into a balanced transportation by adding up a dummy column or sometimes dummy row also sometimes. Okay, then we need to apply the method. Method is northwest corner rule. If we apply, this is the cell where we need to allocate the first. So in the first cell, 1 to A to 1, you can see. This first cell to allocate it, the row total is 250, column total is 300, right? So which one is to be allocated? I told whichever is less, either supply or a demand. So the supply is 250, demand is 300. So the least is 250. So 250 is to be allocated to this cell, right? So the row wise total, supply total becomes 0. That means this row total is to be cancelled. Should not be allocated further in this row. So whenever we are allocating here 250, we need to cancel this 3 cells. And here the total in the column wise out of 300, 250 allocated means leftover we can write by making a slash among this as 50 units. Leftover is 50 units, like this. Allocating 250, this row is totally gone. Okay. Column wise total becomes 300 minus 250 is 50 is leftover in this column. Then how many cells and what are the cells we are having is 2 rows with these 4 columns. So these are the cells to which we need to allocate means again we are applying a method called as northwest. So this is the cell where we need to allocate. So to allocate to the cell, the row wise total is 300. Column wise total after allocating this 250, the leftover here is only 50. So what to do? We need to allocate to the cell is 50 units. Then the column wise total becomes 0. Right?
Yes, sir.
So this column get cancelled after allocating 50 units to this. Means there should not be any allocation for this cell. So 50 units to be allocated, this becomes 0. Here out of 350 allocated,
250.
over will be 250. Then, sorry. Done. The next is here. is allocated, so leftover will be 400, 250. Out of 250, if you see row wise total or column wise total, this is made a mistake. No, no. Same thing if you this is a question where he did a mistake. Yes. This is the message for all or for me? Okay, the message. As I told you, see, to explain you, this is necessary actually. Contest he didn't mention properly. What would be the What we did, we added one more. Column D with a zero cost. The difference totally becomes 850. So this is our northwest corner cell. To allocate it, the least is 250. Here the number of units are 300. So as I told you, we need to allocate 250 units here. Right? If we allocate, then the total supply becomes 0. So it means this cells will not have any further allocations. Right? Whereas here out of 300, we allocated 250, so 50 units are left. Then we can see the northwest corner cell is this one. To this we need to allocate, means the least is 50 units. So 50 units are allocating to this cell, so that the next, this total becomes 0. This becomes 0. Right? So there is no further allocations to this column. If you see column wise. So column wise will not have any further allocations, and the row wise, out of 300, 50 is allocated, leftover is 250 units. Right? Any doubt till you are, I think so. Any doubt, you can raise your doubt, no problem.
No.
So among all these cells only to be allocated means northwest corner is this cell. So to allocate to this cell, how many units row wise is 250, column wise is 200. So 200 is the least, so 200 units have been allocated to this cell. So this column wise total becomes 0. So there should not be any further allocations to this column. Right? And the row wise, if you check, out of 250 units, there are 200 units have been allocated already. So leftover is 50 units. Right? Again, the number of cells we are having is these 4 cells. Among these 4 cells, to this cell we need to allocate. To allocate to this cell, we are having 50 units here, 200 units is here. So 50 units are to be allocated to this cell because that is the least, so that row wise total becomes 0. Row wise total becomes 0. So row wise allocations won't be there. So here also there is no allocation for the, whereas column wise, if you check, out of 200, 50 units have been allocated, leftover is 150 units, right? So lastly, we have two cells only. This is one, another with this. So first is to be allocated northwest corner. So to allocate it, the row wise total 300, column wise total is 150. So how many units? 150 units to be allocated to this cell, so that this becomes, right, this becomes 0, whereas here row wise total out of 300, 150 allocated, leftover is 150. That 150 and this 150 we can allocate to this cell, 150 units, so that this also get cancelled, this also becomes 0, the total demand becomes 0 and supply also becomes 0. So the total 850 units are being allocated to different cells. As I told you, once check, recheck that is it applying to us or not. M plus N minus 1. How many rows and how many columns? Now 3 rows, 4 columns are there.
4 columns.
So 3 plus 4 minus 1. How many allocations we should get? 6 allocations.
6.
So how many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? That's 6 allocations we got. But what is the total transportation cost? To find out the total transportation cost, what we need to do, we need to consider all these cells units multiplied with the cost. So what are the cells we are having? First cell 250 units multiplied with 5, right, plus 50 units multiplied with 8, right, then 200 units multiplied with 4 plus 50 units multiplied with 3 plus 150 units multiplied with 5 plus 150 units multiplied with 0 is your transportation cost. Is this clear? How much is the transportation cost? If we make it equals to in front of it, we have the total transportation cost is 3,350. Do you have any doubt, anyone? What if it is small mistake we made it? Anyhow, even he got I think answer 3,300. We calculated and we got 3,350. That is the difference. This makes a difference. 3,350 we got 3,000. And that is not the way which method we are following. According to that only we need to northwest corner rule, WCR. If this method is clear to you,
Yes, sir.
any doubt? Anyone?
So in this, costs are always in order. I think they are in sorted order. Otherwise, it won't work.
Cost is means all the cost is within the matrix, whatever is there, that is the cost actually. 543843975 is the cost, where the totals is considered as total supply and the total demand.
So in every problem, they are in sorted. They are sorted.
Yeah, most of the time. Very rare case to give in the sentence wise format. I'll search and see once if there is any possibility to find.
Sir, I mean, cost is increasing from top to down and
No,
decreasing from
no.
left to right.
No,
Is that?
no, there is no
No.
like that.
Cost not.
It is not in that way. The cost is the expenditure incurred to transport the goods from one place to another place. Whatever is there, that is to be kept in the matrix format. Right?
Okay, sir.
You can try this once. Here the demand is greater than supply. This is what question. The total supply is 450 and the demand is 500. What to do? The ABC is the demand 250, 100, 150, total 500. The supply WXY 100, 175, 75, 450. So here to make it this as 500, we need to add one more 50 here. So row wise, we need to take one more dummy row with X, Y, Z. WX, Y, Z, and the cost is 0, and the total supply units will be the difference of this demand and supply 50 units. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
To add one more row,
One
not
more
a
row.
column.
Good.
Yes, sir.
So most of the people will think that every time we need to add a column only, we can add column and the difference we are writing it that. That is wrong. This is what we need to do. We need to add one more row, the difference of units with the cost of 0. Dummy we call it as that. It doesn't have the costs in the matrix. So 0 is the cost for this. Now you solve it and find out. Solve and
Now,
find
sir.
out. Yeah.
Now, sir.
This
Yes, sir.
hardly takes 2 to 3 minutes. Northwest corner rule only.
Yes, sir. Two 2850, sir.
2850. Perfect. So what are the cells you got? Can you tell me? 200 into 6.
Yes, sir. 200 into 6 and 50 demand is there, sir.
15 to 10.
50 into 10.
Right.
And after that, here 175,
100
175,
into
100 into 5,
right.
8 into 25,
8 into 25, right.
and 6 into 75,
Right.
and 0 into 50.
Right. Correct. That is actually the
2850, right, sir?
2850 is correct. 2850 is correct. So 2850 is right for your question. 2850 is the answer based on northwest corner rule. Any
Yes,
doubt?
sir.
Somebody? Yeah. Total damage relation to 850. Right. So the question, this is normally the cost matrix given to us, that is transportation cost only mentioned, then it's okay, good. Sometimes, right? Sometimes they may give you in this format. Can you see this? See the question one, maximization. Maximization using LCM. So whenever maximization question is mentioned, particularly if there is a matrix given to us as a profit matrix, this is considered as profit matrix. So what we need to do, profit matrix is to be converted into a cost matrix. Profit matrix has to be converted into cost matrix first. So convert maximization into minimization. It means the profit matrix is given, to convert into cost matrix among all these cells, not the totals of demand and supply, only the cells cost, that is cells profit, whatever mentioned. Among all these values, which is the highest value? This one, the highest value is 95. The highest value is 95. That is taken and subtracted all the values from this 95. From the maximum value, you subtract all the values, whatever you'll be getting, that is the cost of each cell that is considered to solve the problem. So that is converting maximization problem into a minimization problem with this one. Here. So you can see the solution part for that question. This is the matrix after subtracting all the elements from 95, because 95 is the highest. Then the cost matrix becomes like this. 0. 95 minus 95 is 0. 95 minus 80 is 15. 95 minus 70 is 25. 95 minus 60 is 35. Right? Don't do for the totals, only for the matrix cost or the profit given to us. To that only to these cells. Are you getting my point? This is now minimization case, which can be further solved as discussed before. So 20, 30, 35, 45, these are all the new values, which is cost matrix. So from the profit matrix to get the cost matrix, what to do? Subtracting all the elements from the highest element. The highest element is 95, so that is that they did, and they got the total of this. Now this is the question where we can solve by any of the method, northwest corner, least cost method, or any other method also you can follow it. Is the point clear to you? Before going to any
It's a LCM model, sir. This one?
No, not LCM model.
Cost method.
It is the questionnaire. If the question is given to us,
Convert
the form-
maximization to minimization.
if profit matrix is given to us, then we need to solve a question, means we need to convert the profit matrix into cost matrix.
Okay, whatever the highest cost is there in the matrix, that will be
Highest profit
remaining
actually
all
is,
deducted from that one.
Yeah.
Remaining all rows deducted from that high number. High cost.
Yes. Then it becomes a cost matrix. Then you can solve it. Okay, that is one. Where the method, if you want to know about the least cost method, we'll go with the numerical part of it. So the same question, if you go with the least cost matrix, or else we'll go with the least cost value, all that. Okay. Yeah. This is a question where to solve the least cost method or matrix minima method, we can also call it as matrix minima method. Is the northwest corner method is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Right. Then we'll go with the least cost method or matrix minima method. What it is actually, matrix minima means within this matrix, whichever the cost is least, these are all the cost values only, right? This is the matrix consists of all the cost of transportation. Within these cells, the cost whatever given to us, we need to find out the least cost. Least cost among all the cells is this one. First, we need to allocate to this cell. Least cost matrix, least cost method or matrix minimum method means within this matrix, the minimum value or the least value to that cell we need to allocate first. That is actually the method. Is the question clear? Is the method clear to you? This is to allocate first. So to least cost method means within the matrix, the costs are given to us. Okay, there are 4 rows, three rows, 4 columns. Within these 3 rows and 4 columns, the cost, whatever given to us, in that least cost we need to find out. We found that the least cost is here. Okay.
Okay.
So
One.
to this cell only we need to allocate. To allocate to this cell, again we need to search the row total units are less or column wise units are less. So row wise total is less, that is 40 units are there, that is to be allocated to this cell first. So 40 units are allocating. So this is the first 40 units allocated to the cell. So row wise total becomes 0, right? So when it is becomes 0, that means what? Other cells should not be allocated. So this becomes cancelled. So the row wise total units have been allocated. It means cancellation in the sense the number of units have been allocated totally for this row. So where column wise out of 80, 40 allocated means 40 left over. Right? Up to this is clear.
Yes, sir.
Next, remaining cells. These are the cells remaining to be allocated. Among all these cells, the least cost. Where do you find least cost? This is the cell having the cost of 2. To this cell, we need to allocate. To allocate this, again, we need to search the row wise total 100 units, column wise is 50. So 50 is the least. So 50 units are allocating to this cell. Right? So the column wise total becomes 0. That means this columns we should not allocate further. So the total column has been allocated. Row wise, if you see the total of 100 out of 100, 50 allocated, remaining 50 are there. Here,
Yes, sir.
next, remaining cells are these 4 cells plus these 2 cells. Right? Among all these cells, the least cost is here 4 only. Right? So this cell we need to allocate means row wise total is 50, column wise total is 20. So 20 is the least. So to that cell we need to allocate the 20 units are allocating so that this total 20 becomes 0. That means the total cell is allocated, no further allocation to this column. Is this clear?
Okay.
So leftover cells are these cells. Among this, the least cost is again 5. To this cell we need to allocate. So row total 50, column wise total is also 50. We can allocate that 50.
Sir, 50. Sir, 50 becomes to 30, sir.
Yeah, right. Sorry. Out of 50, 20 allocated means 30 left over. So here we need to allocate 30 units, which is the least. So row wise total becomes 0. So there is no further allocation to this row. Whereas column wise out of 50, 30 allocated means left over is 20 units. Right? Then again, if you see only 2 cells are there. Among these, the least cell is this 6. The least. Row wise total is 60, column wise total is 40. 40 units are allocated to this cell so that column wise total becomes 0 and row wise total out of 60 left over is 20. And that 20 left over can be allocated to this cell because column wise and row wise total is 20.
8 into 2.
18. So the total has been allocated to all the cells without any value. And before going to that, the total must be equal. I told that also before that. Supply and demand must be equal. Then only we can do the sum. The total supply is 200, column wise demand is also 200. So that we got the answer. So how many allocations we got? So we got n plus n minus 1.
6.
3 rows, 4 columns.
6 allocations.
6 allocations we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. Now we can find out the total transportation cost. 4 into 20 into 4. 20 into 4 plus 15 into 2 plus 30 into 5 plus 20 into 8
770.
plus 40 into 6. Maybe math will see 1 40 into 1. 770. Right. All right. So this is about least cost method or matrix minima method. So this they may say as 2 ways, that is row minima method, column minima method. At the time only row wise minimum values are considered. Column wise minimum values only to be considered. So they won't be asking you about that one, but main thing is about LCM, that is least cost method or matrix minimum method. Is the method is clear for you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So 2 methods we discussed, northwest corner and
Least cost method.
least cost method. Will you try one problem with least cost? Then we go further. Yes. Try one. Next question. You try to solve this with least cost method.
Okay. Sir, 727, sir.
727, sir.
Okay. Can you keep any photo is possible in this? No, I don't. This is what you have done. Can you put a photo of that on the possible in this? Okay, that is about least cost method. Actually, I want to see how you calculated and how you got the cells. Okay, what are the cells you got? Can you tell me that is more than enough?
3 into 11,
Right?
13 into 4,
13 into?
4,
4,
Okay.
14 into
14
9,
into 9.
14 into 9. Okay.
32 into 6,
No,
32
okay.
into 6. Okay, we went there.
27 into 10,
Okay.
18 into 3.
18 into 3.
18 into 3. Right. Correct. Right. Okay. That is about the least cost method. Coming back, there are 3 methods I told. Northwest corner method, least cost method, and the VAM method. VAM method is Vogel's approximation method, we call it as. It is slightly different from these two, little bit difficult also we can say, but it is very understandable. So Vogel's approximation method.
Sir, one thing.
Yeah.
Sir, in this maximization to minimization problem,
I think it
just to conversion is enough, sir. After that, we will do
First we need to
northwest.
convert
After that, we do
into
northwest.
minimization, then solve by any of the methods. It may be
Any of the northwest or least cost.
northwest corner or least cost method or Vogel approximation. If they mention particularly with the particular method, you can solve that. Or else it is upon you. So to get the feasible solution, first of all, we need to convert profit maximization matrix into cost matrix. So we can't solve it directly with the profit maximization. That is what in these methods, in this transportation problems method. If you solve, you may not be getting it accurately. Right? Is that clear? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right. Vogel's approximation method is the third method in the basic solution. So basis of allocation is unit cost penalty. Here we need to calculate the penalties. Unit wise, for each unit cost, we need to find out the penalty row wise and column wise. The subsequent allocations in cells are done keeping in view that the highest unit cost where the cells are there, that you keep it in the mind and you need to allocate according to that. For that reason, this method is applied. And initial basic feasible solution IBFS obtained by this method is either optimal or very near to optimal solution. That is why most of the time the people will solve with the VAM method, Vogel's approximation method, because they'll be reaching optimal solution or else near to the optimal solution with this VAM method. So amount of time required to calculate the optimal solution is reduced even if you calculate with the VAM method to find out the best solution, that is optimal solution, the calculation part will be less and it can be solved it easily. That is why VAM method is applied. So here in this method, we'll apply some steps. We'll follow some steps. The VAM method. Step 1. For each row of the table, identify the lowest and the next lowest cost cell and find their least cost. Then the difference shall be 0. Means what? Row wise, the unit cost, whatever given, cost matrix is given, find out the least value and the second least value. And the difference, whatever you are getting, that difference you need to write row wise after the supply column. Those are called as penalties. You may be getting 0 also sometimes because the least and second least are same values if we have. Twice we have 1 and 1, 1 minus 1 is nothing but 0. If we have the least cost is 1 and the second least cost is 2, 2 minus 1 is 1. Like that you need to find out each row wise. Step 2, same similarly, find the difference of each column and place it below each column. These differences found in the step 1 and the 2 are called as penalties. They are called as penalties. Step 3, looking at all the penalty, identify the highest of them and the row or column relative to that penalty. Allocate the maximum possible units to the least cost cell in the selected row or column. Ties should be broken in this order. If you are getting a tie, that means what? If not, wherever you are getting as the highest penalty, there are 2 penalties, same value, then you can search for the least cost. So maximum difference least cost cell, maximum difference tie, then least cost cell we need to go. Maximum units allocation tie, then arbitrary we need to. Arbitrary means it is dependent upon you, any one you can go with that. Step 4, adjust the supply and the demand and cross the satisfied row or column. Then step 5, again recompute the column and the row differences, ignoring deleted rows or columns. And go to the step 3, repeat the procedure until the entire column and rows totally are satisfied. So VAM method is time taking, but you may reach to optimal solution, near to optimal solution, or you may get the optimal solution also sometimes. That is why VAM method, Vogel's approximation method, is applied most of the time. This is an example question. As there are 3 plants where our plants demand and supply is there. W1, W2, W3 are the warehouses and plant supply is given to us, and the total of supply and demand is equal. So step 1, this problem is balanced transportation problem that we need to check before going to it. So question is very clear. Now we need to solve by VAM method. What to do? I told the step number 1 is the least cost among the rows first. Row wise, if you check which one is the least, 6 is the least, and next least is 7. Am I right? 6 and the 7. Are you getting my point? 6 least, next least is 7. The difference 6 minus 7, 7 minus 6 is 1. Similarly here also, the least is 3 and next least is 5. The difference is 2. Then the least is
4,
4.
5.
And the difference is 5. The difference is 1. Row wise penalties you will be getting. Similarly, column wise, if you check column wise, least is 4 and the next least is 5. 5 minus 4. Here the difference 5 minus 6. Here the difference is 3 and 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. So among all the penalties, the highest penalty you will be getting in this column, I think. Right? Highest penalty, sorry, it must be 8 minus 3, that is 5. All are correct one, except this one, right? So to this column, we need to allocate means which is the least cost. The least cost is 3. Right? To this, we need to allocate the units. Units wise, if you check, 28 is row wise, column wise, it is 19 units. So you can allocate this 19 units to this cell. So that is allocated in this cell. Is this clear to you?
Yes, sir.
I got only one answer. Rest of them.
Yes,
Could
sir.
you repeat once again, sir?
See, what we did here, row wise, we calculate the penalty. That is P1 given here. Least is 6, second least is 7. 7 minus 6 is 1. Similarly, the least is 3 and the second least is 5. 5 minus 3 is 2. 4 minus 5, that is 5 minus 4 is 1. Column wise also we calculated the same. 5 minus 4, here 6 minus 5. But here actually it must be 8 minus 3, but mentioned as 9 minus 3. 8 minus 3, if you do 5 is the penalty. Among all these row wise and column wise penalty, the highest penalty you may get row wise or column wise. But to the highest penalty only we need to allocate. You need to search in which cell we need to allocate. So highest penalty is in this column. It must be 5 but written as 6, but in this column only to be allocated. So in this column the least cost is 3. Right? So to this 3 cost of unit, we need to allocate the number of units. To allocate the number of units in any cell, what we need to see the searching, the demand is less or supply is less. If you see the demand is less, so 19 units have been allocated to this. Okay. So that the total column will be 0. Okay. The total of 19 becomes 0. So other cells will not be allocated. And row wise total out of 28, 19 is allocated, left over will be 9.
Remaining 9.
Right. So this column we should not consider for the next penalties.
Okay.
So what will be there? Only 2 columns and 3 rows. Only 2 columns and 3 rows. Again, we need to find out the penalties next. So if you find out the penalties, 7 minus 6, 7 minus 5, 5 minus 4. Again, column by same, 5 minus 4, 6 minus 5. Search the highest penalty again. This next one will be here. The highest penalty is 2. All the penalties 1, 1, 1, 2, 1. So row wise penalty is highest. So to this row we need to allocate the least cost in these two things is 5. So to this cell only we need to allocate. So row wise total is 9, column wise total is 21. Demand is 21, supply is 9 because out of 28, 19 is already allocated. So 9 left over. So that 9 units are allocated to this cell. So that the 21 becomes 12 and this total row becomes nullified. So this column and row is nullified. So leftover cells are only these 2 rows and 2 columns. 7, 6, 4, 5. Am I right? So after that, we need to allocate any of the cells, means the least cost only we need to search. Leftover cells are 4. the difference, if you find out, the difference you are getting is 1, 1, 1 only. So here 7 minus 4 is 3. The highest penalty we got 3. So in this, least cost is 4. To this cell we need to allocate means the 12 units are less. So that is allocated. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Somebody disturbing. Is everything fine? Okay, good. So here 12 units have been allocated to this. Out of 12 is allocated. This becomes 0. So total column is cancelled. This total column cancelled. This row cancelled. So left over are only two values, 6 and 5. Only two cells are there. Among that, the least cost cell only to be allocated first. Least cost cell, that is 5. To this 5, if you want to allocate, 5 is there. So row wise, that is allocated. 20 is there, that is allocated to this. Any of the total number of cells allocation we got, final matrix with all allocations have been done. How many allocations we got?
5.
5. So 3 rows, 3 columns minus 1 is 5 allocations that we got with this VAM method. You may not be clear with this, but once again, if you go through it once again, you can understand it easily. So here the number of rows 3, columns 3 minus 1 is 5. 5 allocations we got. That 5 allocations total is total transportation cost. P1 to W6 into 20, 5 into 9, 3 into 19, 12 into 4, 5. Total transportation cost is 295. Any small doubt, you can raise your doubt. One more thing is, if you put your pen on the book, the paper, and doing it practically, then only you can understand what we did, what we discussed in the class. Purely numerical part. So it is necessary to practice. Theoretically, you can write anything, but practically means it is must to practice. Right?
Okay.
Any doubt?
Give one problem.
Yeah. This is your question. You tell me, I'll do it. What I said in the VAM method, Vogel's approximation method.
One least cost minus second least cost.
Yeah. The row wise, if you go,
0 is coming.
yeah, yes. 1 and 1 difference is your 0.
1. No, sir. Second least means 2 is coming, right?
Here you may be having the next least. 1 is selected, the next least will be the 1.
0. Okay.
So 1 minus 1, it may be 0 also.
Okay.
Right?
1 minus 2, 1.
Yeah. Here the least is 1 and the next least again is 2. So 2
One.
minus 1 is 1.
1.
Here the least is
4.
2
4
and
minus
4.
2.
Penalty we got row wise penalty is 0, 1, 2. Then column wise penalty.
2.
Search for the column wise penalty 1 and 3 difference.
2.
3 minus 1
0.
is 2.
0.
Next is 0. 2 minus 2.
1.
Next is
1. 3.
2 minus 1 is 1. Then here 4 minus 1 is 3. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Next, what to do? We got highest penalty in this only.
3. So D4, sir. Row, column D4.
D4 column we need to allocate. To which cell we need to allocate?
S2.
Huh?
S2. S2. 1.
S2. Why? Because
Least
that
cost.
is the least cost. So least cost unit we need to allocate. To
1
allocate
into
to
10.
this least cost, the row wise units are less or column wise units are less. We need to check.
1 into 10.
Yeah, 10 units to be allocated to this cell. Right.
10 becomes 0.
0.
0. And 50 becomes 40.
Then we cannot go with this
D4.
column wise. So column wise, this is to be nullified. Right. Now again, there are 3 rows and 3 columns.
Yes.
Find out the penalty. This is-
Column. Rows is same, sir.
Yeah. Rows 3, columns 3. So again, if you see the difference,
Yes, sir. There are two is there, sir. 2 is row wise is 2 is there. Column wise also 2 is there. Highest penalty.
if you see, then
0, 1,
1,
2.
then 2 minus 2, 2. Second time again
0, 1.
right. Here also 2 we got, here also 2 we got. Okay. If you search among these two, the time between these two penalties, search in the row wise and the column wise the least cost. Column wise, if you search, the 1 is the least.
Yes.
If you go with this row wise, because we got
2 is
highest
least.
in this, 2 is the
2 is
So among these two things, the least value is
1.
1. So to this one only to be allocated first.
Yes, sir. 1 into 20.
So this 1 into 20. 20 is so 1 is to be allocating 20 units. Right.
20 becomes 0.
So this becomes 0.
And 30 becomes 10.
30 becomes
10.
10.
And D1 total column will
Yeah.
0.
This will be nullified. Right.
Remaining D2, D3. That becomes 10.
30 becomes 10. Right. Now again we need to find out the penalty. We have
2 minus 1, 1.
2 minus 1 is 1.
And another 1. 3 minus 2.
1.
5 minus 2, 3.
3 this, right?
And 2 minus 2, 0. D2.
This is 3 minus 2 is 1.
No, 2 minus 2 is 0.
2 minus
have supply intending. And
Here
2
one,
minus
2 minus
2 minus 1, 1.
So here the
S3 is the
right.
S3 row and 2 ones.
So we need to
2
allocate
into
this
20.
cell. Yeah,
2 into 20.
2 into 20.
20.
Right.
20 becomes 0.
Right.
Supply becomes 0. And demand becomes 20.
And
2 minus 1.
yeah,
1.
2 minus 1 is 1. 3
1.
minus 2 is
3
also
minus
1.
1.
3 minus 2 is 2 minus. So all are 1.
1, 1 also.
So
Go to D3. S1.
D3 is 1. We need to
1
allocate
into 10. 1 into 10.
allocate the least cost, the least units.
1 into 10.
1 into 10. 10
It becomes 0. And 30 becomes
we
20.
should not allocate to this cell. That we need to cancel. Here out of 30, it becomes 20.
20.
Right. Again, we have least cost is 2. To
2.
this, we need to allocate means 20.
2 into 20.
20.
Column becomes 0.
20 becomes 0.
0. And 40 becomes
And
20.
it becomes
20.
20. This 20 can be allocated to
3 into 20. 20 becomes 0 and the row also becomes 0.
Right.
Yes,
So how many allocations we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5, 6.
So how many rows? 3 rows, 4 columns. So 7 minus 1 is
4
6.
minus
We got
4 plus 3 minus 1. 6.
6. So 6 columns. Now we can calculate the total transportation cost. 1 into 20 plus 3 into 20.
39,
2 into 20.
130, 140,
Right.
180, sir.
Yeah.
180.
Right. So VAM method is clear for everyone. Any doubt? You try one more thing. Afterwards, you
Yes, sir.
note down. Take a pic of it. Try to solve this one. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Go further in the next class. Any doubt? Took the picture. Any doubt? Further doubts?
Please show the problem, sir. I didn't take.
Are you listening? The VAM method is clear to you. Yes, Kumar.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
The practice is necessary for this. operation research. You need to do so many operations. Then only you will be successful.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Can we call it's a Vogel's method is a row minima and column minima method also?
That's what I told you. Least cost method we did, right? What we have seen in the least cost method, overall matrix, whichever is least, that is we have allocated.
Yes, sir.
If it is a row minima method, then what we need to do only row wise, whichever is minimum, that is to be allocated first.
Okay.
If it is a column minimum method is there, then no, column wise only minimum values is to be considered. That is to be allocated first.
Okay.
That clear? Or you try once. I'll show you otherwise. A problem you take, which we did in the least cost method. So now you do with the row minima method first, column minima method next. You may get the different answers, but the method is like that. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Good day. Bye. Radhakrishna sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, session is done.
Okay, sir.
Leaving there.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Sir. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Yeah, Kumar and all, and we will meet by 2:30. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yes, fine. Thank you.